By Mara Gillespie, founder of Blue Stack Strategies and former advisor to House Speaker John Boehner. Mara, thank you so much for being with us. This decision is really significant because it could effectively completely shutter abortion clinics in the state. The thing is, though, and the problem for Republicans is this is not a winning issue for Republicans. So if you are a Republican and you are up for re-election this year, what is your strategy to ensure that this does not cost you?
You really need to distance yourself from this decision by Arizona, this archaic law that they've brought back to life here. It's really disappointing, and Republicans have long struggled to really, articulate what their stance on women's health is, because the conversation has been so much polarizing between pro-choice and pro-life, as opposed to the conversation on women's health and freedom of, your medical freedom for half the population. And so we've struggled in that regards, and Republicans down ballot will be impacted by this for sure, because you do have the former president out there touting his role in overturning Roe v. Wade and giving it back to the states, and then this happens. So I think Republicans are going to need to really delineate themselves from this decision. But as far as a party and how we message, not just to women, but to this issue, conversations about what are you doing to support women? What are you doing to support that child? We have to take it a step further and talk about the holistic approach here about, supporting women, because it's expensive to have children. Like, this is a burden in so many ways. And so they really need a message better, for sure.
And clearly, so many Republicans think no matter where people stand on the issue, it's a decision they should make on their own, with their families, with their doctors. And you can't overstate, Mara, the significance of the Supreme Court's decision overturning Roe v. Wade. And that is something that the former president has touted, has taken credit for. And look at the real life impact. If we can put up a graphic of the U.S. right now, 21 states ban abortion or restrict the procedure earlier in the pregnancy than the standard set by Roe v. Wade. 14 states have full bans in almost all circumstances. 2 have bans after 6 weeks. And looking at the polling just conducted by the Wall Street Journal, across the 7 battleground states, we're talking Nevada, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia, North Carolina, and now Arizona, abortion is the only issue in which Biden has a clear advantage over the former president. This is a big issue for not only the country, but for the Republican Party. How much is dependent on where Donald Trump ultimately stands? Because it wasn't clear from where he stood on Monday.
And that was by design. I believe that, taking a kind of a wishy-washy approach to it was his plan, hoping that not to ruffle feathers on either side of the debate. But he's going to have to come out more forcefully and make an actual message on this issue, because again, Biden will win this issue hands down. I think that there are a lot of women in the Republican Party who maybe aren't outspoken on this, do care deeply about it. 2 things can be true at once. You can be pro-life and pro-choice. You can believe in the sanctity of life, but also believe in the fact that, half the population should have medical freedom and a decision over what's best for their health and what's best for their bodies. So I do think that Trump is going to have to really articulate better a message that can win him a general, because at this point, and what is currently being displayed here across different states that he needs to win, it's not going to be a success for him.
So is there an actual message? Is there anything specifically that Donald Trump can say in terms of his stance on this issue that isn't going to cost him on either side of the aisle? Because as you point out, right now, this wishy-washy approach, this sort of free-for-all approach is not good for him in either category of voters, because you've got independent women obviously blaming him for stacking the Supreme Court, and you've got conservative women who are anti-abortion saying that, look, this sort of free-for-all just simply does not cut it. So what would be the strategy that would be the winning strategy in the run-up to November?
I can't speak to what I think Trump would do or needs to do as far as what the best message is on whether it's a matter of weeks or whatever that the conversation
but
is.
It's a hard one, right? It's a hard one. He is between a rock and a hard place.
I don't think right, and I don't think it comes down to that personally. I'm speaking on behalf of myself. I'm a conservative because I believe in a smaller, more accountable government. There is nothing that says more like big government to me than being told that as half the population, as a woman, that I am nothing more than a body part. I think that that's a archaic message to send out to women, and is certainly not going to help Republicans who are constantly, wanting a smaller government. They don't want big government coming in and telling them what they can and can't do. Well, then they need to really reframe how they message this. And again, I would go back to things like, what are we doing to support women who are being forced to have these children? There's no set up in place for them, no programs in place to the cost, the physical burden, the cost of going to doctor's appointments. Having a child is very expensive. And I think that we are only looking at it through one lens, and it's a religious lens, as opposed to taking a step back, taking your personal feelings out of it, and recognizing that each individual, man or woman, should have their own personal freedom to decide what's best for their medical and mental and all-encompassing health.
Yeah, it's really not a great message to send, regardless of which party you're in, to have to defend a draconian law that was written by a judge who literally was appointed by Abraham Lincoln. Mara Gillespie, that's where we are. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll be right back.
Thanks for having me.
More.